Bacteria mainly will always eat your food to help you digest. If you've got any decay in the system, you've got a cell that died, what is going to break that cell down? Is that cell just going to disappear? No, it's a whole organism. It needs to be digested and removed from the body. What's going to digest it? Bacteria. But the medical profession will point at those bacteria and say, see, they're destroying a cell. What kind of a cell? Not a healthy cell, a dead cell, or a cell that is dying and it needs to get rid of. You have to watch the medical profession. Bacteria is always good that's inside your body. The only bad bacteria is man-made bacteria like the 0157H7 that you'll never find anywhere but a laboratory and never in nature, unless it's planted, and then it will never be alive. Bacteria can eat 50 times their weight in 24 hours, both intestinally as a digestive aid or to get rid of dead cells in your body or any kind of organic waste product. Bacteria eats. Bacteria eats fecal matter, waste products, whatever it is, other bacteria, compounds, networks, microcosms and macrocosms of bacteria keep everything moving. On this whole planet, it is bacterial. And if you really look into the microbiologists, there's one, I forgot her name, who even went into TED a few years ago, which is that organization of rich intellectuals that, pats themselves on the back because all these great things they're doing. They don't have a frickin' clue either. They're closer, but they really don't have a clue because they're rich people. They like their toys and everything, so they can't get out of use of those. But anyway, there's a microbiologist and a bacteriologist that said 99% of the body is bacteria, you're 1% human. And that's so true. So we shouldn't be, and she believes in bad bacteria. And she hasn't studied it thoroughly. She's so young yet. She's like 40 years old, and she just hasn't had the experience, the independent experience. She knows that bacteria is good, but there's still bad bacteria out there, and they're whatever the pharmaceutical industry says they are. She hasn't discovered that they're not bad. So I would like a janitor in my body that eats 50 times its weight in 24 hours and reduces the waste to 1 to 5%. Hey, give me a janitor like that any day. I'll take it. Parasites are even better. If your body collects too much waste at a time, let's say you had an injury, fell out of a tree, you were climbing up to get a coconut out of a palm, and you fell down and bruised your whole body. You're going to have a lot of dead cells from that. If you fell on something sharp or a stone or something, you're going to have some damage in the body. Now, removing that much waste quickly, bacteria can't always do it. So your body will incubate parasites from your own tissue. Parasites are a natural part of every animal cell. And to prove that, I spent $60,000 on this experiment. Took a laboratory room completely isolated. We built it, everything natural, no asbestos or anything. Built the room, had it divided with glass. And then I had a funnel going up from in this chamber. I was putting some lamb or sheep. It wasn't a lamb, it was a little older. Sheep, freshly butchered in a sterile environment right outside this room. Nothing ever touched it, contaminated. Put it in that, closed the chamber over it. A chamber within a chamber. And this was all blown with glass. It went up and then to the other side where I did the butchering, and then that went over and was funneled over a corn dracaena, which produces a lot of oxygen. 3 HEPA filters to blow the oxygen through the 3 HEPA filters, so no parasites, nothing can get through it. So it was getting a natural oxygen. So everything would be as it is in nature. Now, this animal had no parasites. It was a completely healthy animal until I butchered it. And then I ate the rest of it. Made use of it. So in 3 days, and we kept the room at body temperature of the natural body temperature of the sheep, which was about 102.2 degrees. So it kept it right at that temperature. In 4 days, it was full of parasites. various kinds of parasites, and loaded with bacteria. Just remember, every animal cell you have, and you're full of animal cells, that's all you have is animal cells, has seeds for parasites. Something that comes out of hibernation only when you need them. Joel Weinstock, a gastroenterologist, full professor at the University of Iowa, 20 years ago, took a look at the pigs on the farm, very healthy pigs, in the slop, in the dirt, in the fecal matter, urine, lived it and breathed it every day. The animals that were in the university were kept in very clean stalls, concrete, and they were cleaned several times a day. They were given sterile food. Everything was perfect, and these animals were sickly. So he said, well, you know, I'm a gastroenterologist, so I'm going to take a look at the digestive tract. So he looked at the digestive tract. The animals, the pigs that were in the university, had no trichinosis. They had no whipworm in their intestines. Yet the ones on the farm were full of these parasites and were thrivingly healthy and robust, cantankerous and everything. Those that were in the university were just slugs, literally slugs. So he said, I'm going to do an experiment here. He took the whipworm, the trichworm, from the pigs on the farm and infused them into the intestines of the small intestines of the pigs at the university. In 5 days, they were well and energetic. We have a digestive tract more like the pig than we do the apes and monkeys, other primates. Every tribe that I know on the planet has trichinosis in its intestines. In Thailand, they tell them it's bad. They give them antibiotics. They tell them to sterilize the food and stop eating raw fish and raw meats. And they get sick and they get old and their teeth rot early. And they just go on to this 80% rice diet. And they age and deteriorate. And yet the older ones that eat the old way, lots of raw meats and very little of anything else, thrive and are very healthy and are old. We are supposed to have trichinosis. And I have somebody who has a history, an unruly history of constipation. I say, go to my Amish farmers, get some pig's intestines, small intestines, eat it. Eat a half cup, a whole cup, just once. Your entire digestion will change, the constipation goes away, everything is, because you are now digesting something properly. So 9 out of 10 cases were completely well after eating that. And it lasted for 5 to 6 months. Now, Joel Weinstock saw that, and he said, well, I wonder if this will happen with humans, because they're supposed to have trichinosis too. And yet we're told trichinosis is one of the worst diseases you can get. Cook your pig until you can't tell it was ever an animal before. It's charcoal. So he went to the FDA, and the FDA told him, you can do the experiment on, let's say, how many you want, 6 to 10 people, but they all have to have suffered for more than 10 years and had no relief from medical therapies. And that's when I first learned, you mean it's the law that a licensed doctor cannot recommend any alternative to the pharmaceutical approach unless a person has suffered for 10 years and failed? That's the law. That is the law. So no, I don't care how good intentions your doctor is. If he is a licensed doctor, he'll be under charges if he tells you anything alternative. And they will come after him. I know lots of doctors they went after for that. And I only know the one that won, Dr. Privatera, a good friend of mine. He got 6 people who had suffered 10 to 32 years with inflammatory bowel syndrome. They suffered from drinking water. They suffered from taking any kinds of food into their body. So he filtered the whipworm's eggs in a certain way and then put them in Gatorade. Now Gatorade is highly alkalinizing. So he figured that will neutralize the hydrochloric acid, wouldn't destroy the eggs, and they would pass into the intestines and incubate. And he was right. I tried to do that many times, but I never thought of putting it in Gatorade, and I would never put it in Gatorade. Now I would put it in vegetable juice and then do it that way. But now I just tell them to eat the whole intestine and don't worry about it. Don't worry, the eggs they're already there. You don't have to worry about separating the eggs. He gave the 6 people the whipworm, and it all incubated, and within 5 days, 5 of the 6 were asymptomatic, able to eat absolutely anything. Can you imagine the one who'd suffered for 32 years, all of a sudden in 5 days able to eat anything without any gas, any distress, no vomit, no diarrhea, no nausea, anything? Because the parasites were in there. They can eat 100 times their weight in 24 hours. So you know how they can digest that food for you. So all their waste product neutralifies the system incredibly. So you have detoxifying parasites and you have digestive parasites. In most tribes, when they eat meat, they don't chew it. They don't grind it or chop it. They're eating big gobs of it. So of course the hydrochloric acid could never be enough to break it down. So that these larger parasites to break it down. Very simple. The body and nature works wonderfully with the human being, the human condition, the human needs. And if you don't trust it, if you think there's some attack, you're going to be attacking it. Your very